What's up, everybody? Welcome to Podcast Now. I'm Alex, and in this video we were ranking every single song on Zeitgeist by the Smashing Pumpkins. We have been reviewing, and we actually had already done that, reviewed every single album from them, from Gish all the way up to the most recent album, and now we've been ranking them. We actually had started from the most recent album, and we're working backwards in time. 2 weeks ago we ranked every song in Oceania, and obviously Zeitgeist is an album that has its critics and has its fans. Obviously an album that when it first came out really divided the fan base. Not a lot of people liked it, not just considering the fact that it was only Billy and Jimmy from the original Smashing Pumpkins that came back, and it took a long time. I think it's still taking a lot of time to have people really look at this album and say, you know what, it wasn't all that bad. There are some very bad parts to this album and some bad ideas and designs, but at the same time there's some really amazing songs, and songs that are right up there with the Machina days and I think there's some songs on all the albums, Zeitgeist, Oceania, Monuments, Phonology, and their newest album, that really fit well into their catalog and are definitely a part of the Smashing Pumpkins history, and that is no different on this album. Now I think the second half of this album is way stronger than the first half. Again, we reviewed this album, so definitely go back in our videos and find our review of Zeitgeist. We're going to be ranking every single song on the album from worst to best, starting right now. Starting with number 12, which is 7 Shades of Black. This is the second song on the album, and I'm going to just combine these because I think it's easier to talk about. Number 11, I had Doomsday Clock. So the first and second songs are, in reverse order, my first and second least favorite songs on this album. I don't think there's any songs on this album that I'll just flat out skip. What I will say about these two songs is he does a similar thing in Oceania when he does Quasar, and then he also does Panopticon, and they kind of sound like they're very similar, like almost as if he's recording just like one right after the other, because they have a weird kind of feeling to them where they sound almost exactly the same. Doomsday Clock, I think once it starts getting going, once like we get to the verses of the song, I really think match 7 Shades of Black. And overall 7 Shades of Black seems like a rehash. Like when you listen to the album and you listen to 7 Shades of Black right after Doomsday Clock, it sounds like you're almost listening to a part 2 or a second half of just an extended long song. If they put this song together as one song, as like an 8-minute song, it would make sense to have the 4 and 4, and it would have like a 4-minute song and 4-minute song. And honestly, to me, they would really sound the same. So I'm not a big fan of either of them. Obviously, when you first listen to this album, if you're listening to the Smashing Pumpkins history, only the Smashing Pumpkins history, the last time you heard them was in Machina 2. And they come out with this, and then there's just some really weird guitar things. You hear the drums. The drums are loud and powerful and really, really good, to be honest with you. And Jimmy Chamberlain really carries a lot of this album. But I really like Billy's voice in a lot of these songs as well, and the guitar work in some of the songs. Sometimes he gets carried away. And I just feel like what they're trying to accomplish with these first 2 songs to kick off an album, it wasn't a good way to kick off this album. Like I said, really the last half of this album is very, very strong. These first 2 songs being my 2 least favorite, isn't overall a really good quality to ever have in an album. Now, number 10 is Tarantula, and this is a little bit harder to rank, and I like some of these middle songs. I think what's difficult about the middle songs of this album is there's good in every one of them. There's something good, there's something catchy, there's something that I like listening to in every single unique song. At the same time, overall, they do not match the quality of a complete song that we'll get to towards the end of the album. And Tarantula, I think this is a perfect example just of any song. I don't think you could pick a better example, because Tarantula obviously was a single. It had the music video, really weird music video, and it just has so many guitars. I don't think I've ever heard a song ever by any band that's had as many guitars, and I think it's got like 50 guitar tracks in it. There are so many guitar parts to this. I don't know how Billy actually did it, and if he sat down and wrote all these overlapping things. 50 sounds actually wrong, because I feel like the number 400 is stuck in my head, so I feel like there's 50 guitar parts, but there's 400 things that are overlaid throughout the entire song. I could have that wrong, but I'm pretty sure the number 400 stands out in my mind too for some reason. And what I'm basically trying to say is that's a joke, okay? I like parts of the song. Some of the guitar solo-ish parts that he just throws out throughout the song are really, really clever and really, really fun. Like, they're really good. You can really get into it. But overall, I do like the actual verses. I like how the guitar works with him singing. I think it somewhat works. But then when he's still kind of singing, and it still kind of sounds like a verse, but he has like 12 guitar tracks in the background doing some sort of weird guitar solo thing, it doesn't overall overall come together to make a really good package. It just overall doesn't work like I would want it to. And again, good parts of the song, but overall quality of the song, not good at all. And to be honest, that's the next song, number 9, Stars. Now, when I first listened to Zeitgeist, I'd only listened to a couple select songs. Tarantula was one of them, Stars was another, and we'll get to, I think, the last song that I listened to when I kind of like just picked out the songs I wanted to hear. Stars was one of those, and I actually do like Stars. I think Stars is a solid album. It's kind of a little bit cocky of a song, and at least on face value, I've never watched or listened to or whatever what the song maybe deeper meaning means, but he's basically talking about themselves. We are stars, we are. So, he's kind of like putting it on the band and talking about what they mean. And so it's a little bit of a cocky lyric-wise, but when it comes to the actual song itself, there's nothing overly, like there's not too much to the song, and that is actually good. It doesn't actually hurt itself by having too much in the song. But what I will say is when you compare this song to the other songs, the simplicity is nice at parts of it, but overall I just can't get into the song as much as I can get into other songs. I don't go back to Zeitgeist and pick the songs I want to listen to, and I don't pick that as one of them. Stars doesn't really make that list because it's okay, it's good, it's not a bad song. This and Tarantula I don't think are bad songs, but you listen to them and they're just kind of the songs on the album. You can listen to them once, but I don't really think I can repeat Stars like 5-6 times like I can for some of these songs, and I can do that with tons of Smashing Pumpkins songs. It's a little bit harder on Zeitgeist, but there are many songs on this album that I can go back and I can listen to just over and over again. The next two are kind of tough. I honestly feel like this is the end of the, they're like so-so songs, and this is where it gets, I think, rather difficult to start ranking them. And number 8 is Bleeding the Orchid. Now, I really like this song. This is one of the songs that I would also go and just listen to kind of standalone, and I really, really like this. I like how his voice is in the background. It kind of comes forward and then it hits you with the guitar. And then it kind of goes quiet and it just lets him sing. I like it. I like how it kind of towards the very end of the song, everything kind of crescendos up and all comes together. Him singing, there's a really nice kind of guitar bend, and that's kind of the theme of the solo and the guitar parts in general. I really like this song, and it's weird because I think when I first listened to this album, I would rank this song so much higher, but I think there's so many songs, and I think I talked about this when I reviewed the album. There's so many songs here that are like sleeper hits that every time I listen to them, I like them more and more. That's the case with a lot of those second half songs on this album, which we'll get to in a couple minutes. And I think because of that, and Bleeding the Orchid is a great song, I think because those other songs I can keep listening to, and every time I'm like, I hear another thing that I really like about it, there's something else that catches my attention, I think that moves those songs up, and then Bleeding the Orchid kind of gets left behind. The next song is United States at number 7. Now, United States is a good song. I think this is kind of a middle of the road song. I want to give it more credit, but I also don't want to give it too much credit because I honestly, personally, I am not the biggest fan of the song. But what I will say is live is very, very good. I've heard the song live. This is a song that Jimmy Chamberlain and Billy, they like to do, and he's such an amazing drummer, and he really makes the song. Obviously, I talked about it when I did the review of it, where he did this in one take. One take, he played the entire thing, and that's incredible because is it the hardest drum beat and in terms of tempo and all that stuff? Is it the hardest song for him to play? No, but the fact that it's just such a long song and there's so many different parts of it, the fact that he played it all at once in the first try, really, really amazing. So the drum is really great, and I like the message. I like the lyrics in general. I like that it's kind of like a little bit of an eerie or scary song, but I do like the guitar parts. I like Billy's voice. I like there's a lot of time where it's just the guitar, just the drums. I really like the ending. They play around with this song, and there's a lot of really catchy guitar and drum connects in this song that I really, really like, and I think that makes the song. I think honestly, when he's singing with the guitar and when Billy's singing, I think that's honestly the weaker part of the song. Even though I like the lyrics, I just think overall it's weaker because I do really, really enjoy the guitar part and drum part when it's just left alone, and that's really the second half of the song in general. I think it does a really, really good job and a decent job overall for being such a long song. It's not my favorite long song that they've made. I think there's a lot that are much better, but this is a really good one as well. Number 6 is Forgotten Country. Now, I had talked about this song in the review, and I think one of the main things I had focused on with the song is it sounds a lot like Billy Corgan's standalone Future Embrace project that he did. I believe that was in '05, and it sounds just ripped straight out from that. And it's not a bad thing because, you know, listening to the Future Embrace, I'm not a big fan of it. I really am. I'm only really a fan of like one song on that. A lot of them I just cannot connect to, you know, and that's fine because he went on his own personal thing and he tried to do different stuff with that album, and I applaud him for that. But I really couldn't get into A Walking Shade is the only song I like on that. But this song, Forgotten Country, honestly reminds me of that, but also the best parts of that the idea of Billy Corgan's standalone thing. It's got the more electronic noises that, you know, he also kind of embraces in future albums like Oceania and like Monuments, but it's different than that. It really, to be honest, Forgotten Country sounds like it doesn't even belong on this album, and a couple of the last songs on the album don't really seem like they belong. And I think that's done on purpose, and they've done that before. You know, they've made kind of experimental albums where they work with they have a lot of instrumental things that are, you know, more rock heavy, but they also kind of go off and kind of just do different kind of things. The last couple songs on Melancholy are basically that, right? All of the songs past basically Starlight are basically that, you know, and I think that's what this album is trying to do. It really hits you hard with heavy rock. It does a lot of different guitar things, and also, but there's some experimentation going on, and it's, you know, some different kind of stuff that we haven't heard in a long time. I like Forgotten Country actually a lot. Obviously by my ranking I put it higher than some of the more rock heavy songs, but at the same time I don't think it's the greatest song, but I do like how it does sound like Future Embrace, but the best parts of Future Embrace. Number 5 is Bring the Light. I really wanted to put this song higher because I love this song. I think Bring the Light is everything that Tarantula is trying to be. I think Bring the Light, now he does some really, his voice I feel like really breaks and he doesn't hit the notes very well in parts of Bring the Light, but I'd say overall I really like his voice in this. I like the lyrics. I love the guitar. I think the guitar works super well, and again, it's got a lot of really fancy guitar riffs. It's got some fancy guitar solos. It works well with his voice, but at the same time there's not like 500 of them, you know what I mean? It's not Tarantula level where it's just guitar over guitar and you can hear a different guitar going on every single second. It's a more simplistic Tarantula. I think this is what it was trying to be, or this is just a better idea overall. So I know I really like this song. This is one of my favorite songs on the album. Number 4 is That's the Way, parentheses, My Love Is. Now this was the first song I'd ever heard from Zeitgeist when I listened to the songs by themselves, and this song has stuck around. I really like it. It's a more like peaceful-ish song. I like his voice a lot in this. I like the guitar. It's got a really nice sound to it. I like the solo. It's not trying too hard, but it's got that kind of signature Smashing Pumpkins, you know, where it's got the pedals working. You know, it doesn't sound just like a very clean guitar. I'm not saying it's completely clean, but it's got a really nice sound to it. Just the solo, and not just the solo like by itself, but the whole song overall has some really awesome guitar parts. I really like this song. I think it's one of the better songs on the album. I think it's one of the better songs that they've made post Machine. I'd put this song right up there. Number 3 is Come On, Let's Go. Really good. Coming off of Bring the Light in terms of the order of the album, and again, this is kind of that last half, I feel like he's just smarter with how he's doing the guitar. Again, I think the guitar work is really good in this song. I think, again, it's not overly I mean, there's some really hard, if you're a guitarist, you know, it's a hard song to play. There's some really cool parts in there that Billy, you know, he's a fantastic guitarist, and there's a lot of parts in Bring the Light and Come On, Let's Go that are some really awesome, very rock heavy, but very cool to listen to solo parts that I really enjoy. And, you know, you only get that from these songs. And again, the cleanness that's not in Tarantula, and I'm going to keep going back to that, this is what I want to hear. I want to hear more songs like Bring the Light and Come On, Let's Go, because I think they do such a good job. Come On, Let's Go just has a different feel to it to me than Bring the Light. That's what just puts it a little bit higher. Again, I really, his voice messes up a couple times in Bring the Light that I think holds that song back from being like a top 2 song on the album. And Come On, Let's Go, I think overall he just does a better job. Last 2 are pretty hard, but number 2 I'm going to say is Pomp and Circumstance. Now you might be saying this is a pretty weird choice, and you know, when I first listened to this album, album, if I ever said to myself that Pomp and Circumstance would be my second favorite song of the album, I think I would have smacked myself in the face, because I've been like, that's a really out there kind of song idea. You know, Pomp and Circumstance is very, very different than a lot of the songs on the album. Again, just like a lot of these songs towards the tail end of the album don't necessarily sound like they belong. It doesn't have the feel of the Future Embrace, okay, like Forgotten Country has. And coming off right after that as a closing song, for some reason, it just does something to me that I can really, really like. I love this song. I really do. I like the la la la. I like that part. And I don't think I ever would like that part. And when he says la la la, I don't think I like that if you were to do that in any other song, in any other album. I don't really, I'm never really a huge fan of that happening. I think it sounds better with like the Blink-182s and the Green Days of the world. They just have a better, I don't know, their voice works with it, and the style of their music writing and how their songs are, I think works better with that kind of thing. But it just works in this song. I just don't understand it, but I really, really love it. I like the guitar, especially towards the very, very end of the song, when it kind of, again, it really comes together at the end where it's super, I feel like it's louder than most of the songs on the album. Like the actual mixing of it is loud, because when it all comes together with that guitar, with the background music, and then also him singing, it's a loud and very, very powerful song, and overall I really love it. And that only leaves Never Lost as my first. This song was very special. I could tell it from the second I had first listened to it. I thought, you know what? This is a different song. It's not a song that you hear in the first half. There's no other song on the album that sounds like Never Lost. I think Bring the Light and Come On Let's Go sound like they're, you know, around the same kind of idea. Pomp and Circumstance, and again, Forgotten Country, they got that kind of different, that uniqueness kind of aspect. Never Lost is the same kind of way. I think it's such a unique and different song on this album that it really stands out. I think, you know, the word beautiful, I think it's a beautiful song. I really like Billy's voice in this. I like the drums, because the drums are very, very different. It doesn't rely on him really banging the drums, Jimmy, or it doesn't really rely on a super sophisticated beat. You know, it's a more simplistic and a different kind of sounding drum style that I really, really like. And then as for, again, the whole song as a package deal, I think is different. It's more mellow, and it comes right off after United States, and I think that really, really helps the song, because we had just got done with 8 songs that, for the most part, you know, I don't think that's the way My Love is as rock heavy as some of the other songs. But, you know, we had just gotten done listening to Tarantula had just played, and Bleeding the Orchid, and then some of the earlier songs, 7 Shades of Black. There's a lot of those songs, and then we get through all that, and then you get hit with Never Lost. I think Never Lost sets the stage for the next 4 or 5 songs that are just a little bit different, and just, I think, overall cleaner and better. And I think that's and Never Lost does a really, really good job. I see this album as 2 albums. I really do. And I don't think it does a good job of starting itself, but if you want to think of Never Lost as the first page to the second album, it does a phenomenal job. And Never Lost is the song I needed in the beginning of the album. And I don't know if that would have helped it sell, or, you know, this is the metrics of it, but I really think Never Lost, if there was a whole album based off the ideas of the second half of this album, I think the Smashing Pumpkins history would be rather different, because I think Zeitgeist would have been a much different album, and honestly a much better album. So guys, let me know in the comments below, what are your ranking, what are your least favorite songs on Zeitgeist? Let me know, and thank you, you know, as always, and this is blatantly honest, I really, really appreciate the few of you, but the guys that have been watching these videos for a long time, ever since I started recording them. I really do appreciate it. I know these videos don't get a lot of views, but I love talking about the Smashing Pumpkins. I think I'm pretty qualified to talk about them. I really do love talking about their music and making these lists and spending time listening and talking to you guys. And, you know, we don't get a lot of comments, we don't get a lot of views on these videos, but I really do appreciate even the silent people that watch these videos that don't comment. I really appreciate you guys watching. So 2 weeks, we're going to continue going backwards. We're going to do Zwan next. We're going to take a break from the Smashing Pumpkins, but we're going to review Billy Corgan and Jimmy Chamberlain's side project, Zwan. We're going to be ranking every song on that, so give that album a listen. Let me know what you guys think of that album and those songs as well, and I will see you guys in 2 weeks.